Well, I went and bought me a motorcycle today. I got to looking and I found these. It's a Suzuki V-Strom 650. Everything I have seen on these, people are saying that they're absolutely awesome bikes. That they're just good. Everything about them is really good. Everybody likes them. They don't do anything just absolutely fantastic, but they're good bikes. So I found a guy. I got my Christmas bonus and I paid off a bunch of bills, but the one thing I wanted to buy was an extra bike, an extra motorcycle. I like having spares of things. As much as I enjoy riding my Trans out, if I were to, somebody steal it or something crazy happen, whatever, I want to be able to hop on another bike and ride to work and things like that. I enjoy a motorcycle that much. So I found this one. On the ad, it said that some of the plastic was messed up, but the motor was perfect. The transmission was perfect. It's got 18,000 miles on it. The guy wanted $2,500, which was about the cheapest that I'd seen reasonable for a motorcycle like this in my area. They could go anywhere from $5,000 to $6,000, but this one was $2,500. So I got there, and I don't know if it'll crank with all this stuff. Oop, that's the wrong button. Yeah, it won't crank probably. Oh, hang on. No. Here's my chin. There it goes. So, listen to her purr. He cranked this thing up. It was fantastic. Now, I did this in the dark. He was 2 hours away from the house. It was, I got there. It was hard to look at it because it was 2 hours away. But when I got there, all of this side of the plastics was beat up. So what it looks like to me is somebody was on this bike at some point and clipped a car on this side. There's a little bit of damage on this side, which I've got everything removed. Not that much though. So there's a little bit over here, but very, very little. But over here, you can see it impacted here pretty good. And it bent this radiator a little, just tweaked it a little bit. This was kind of pulled out. I just took a pair of pliers and bent it in to hold it in place so it actually stays a little better. And when I got it home, I was like, well, for $2,500, motor runs good. I rode it. It rode straight, so I didn't see anything wrong with these. I didn't see anything leaking. Everything seemed to be really good. When I got it home, the first thing I found out was the oil was a little bit low. Let me get this before So I put, a quarter of a quart or something in it. I do like the fact that it's got a sight glass. I like the sight glass. I didn't see an oil dipstick. This is the first V-Strom I've ever had. Never had a Suzuki or anything. It's just got a feel right here. So I'm assuming, I guess, you're just supposed to go by the sight glass. I couldn't find any kind of dipstick anywhere. So, but with this one, one thing I really liked, the seat was super comfortable. When I hopped on it, it was like, man, this thing's comfortable as it can be. I've seen multiple reviews where people really talked up how good these bikes are. So that was kind of the good. Now, what I also figured out once I got home was he took the rack off and he had another V-Strom 650. And what I think he did is he robbed the parts off of this one that he wanted. It looks to me like it used to have bark busters, and they're gone. These are bent up, but I'm hoping I can just find a cheap set online, but they'll work for now. You can see that they're a little bit bent up. But as far as riding it, like I said, I was super happy with the way it ran. It was really nice. I liked it a lot. So I think it's worth it. I kind of got screwed over. The guy kind of lied. I'm just, to be completely honest with you, a lot of what he said wasn't true. But I still think it's worth investing into the bike. So the big issue that I have is it has no turn signals in the front. I found the wiring that goes to the turn signals here and over here. And this is where your factory turn signal used to be. But this is the only side I have. I do not have another side of this thing. And all of this was busted up. So it was cracked all through here. There were cracks up through here. There were cracks right here. When I started taking it apart, this thing was completely busted off. There was a crack right here. This was busted off, and it was cracked through there. This was broken here. So just a lot of plasticky damage had happened. So what I'm doing is I've got some of this stuff, some epoxy that I'm using, but I'm also using these things, little hot staples. So I went through on the back and the front side where all the cracks were, lined everything up, and you can see where all the staples are on the side here. Oh, shoot. And I'm telling you, man, for fixing plastic, this thing is awesome. I really like it. I did the same thing here. It's got some corner staples that you put in it, and then you kind of stick it in there, and then it heats them up red hot. Oops. So my idea is that's going to give it structure that melts into the plastic, and then it's got this thing that will heat up and smooth plastic, so you can kind of sit there and shape your plastic the way you want it. So as far as I can tell, for the most part, it's intact. I don't see any major damage. So I'm, it wasn't what I was hoping it was. What I thought it was? No. And I could just get really ticked off about a guy that screwed me over. But I do think for $2,500 and a little bit of TLC, to be completely honest, I don't care about the looks of a bike. I mean, I don't want to just beat the crap out of it. But as long as it functions, as long as it drives straight, as long as the motor's in good condition, I don't care. So if I pour $1,000 into this bike, I've got $3,500 in it, and I've got a nice bike for me. I don't care about how things look as much as I care about how it functions. So as long as this bike will function, my whole purpose of getting it was a loaner for some of my friends. They ride bikes, they enjoy them, but they're broke a lot of times. And I thought that, it would be a good loaner. It's a 650. When I got on it and kind of got into it a little bit, man, I was really tickled with the power. It seemed to be really good, really even. Again, very comfortable. So this could be something that, honestly, I would say is more comfortable than my Transalp in all reality. Just from the little bit that I've said on it. Obviously, I've not really hammered it hard and gone anywhere, but from what I can tell, this bike is actually pretty close to as comfortable or more comfortable than my Transalp, just in the little bit that I've seen it. Also, the passenger seat is probably everything I've seen. Everybody seems to like them. Another thing I do like about this one, for this purpose, is it's got alloy rims. I don't have to worry about tubes. The tires are decent enough that I can ride it like this for a little while. It does have ABS, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is what it is. And again, power to spare. So this thing's got 18,000 miles on it. My Transalp, I've had it for a few months, and I've got 10,000 miles on it. So that's double what my Transalp's got on it. Or not even double. A little bit less than double in all reality. So if nothing else, this will be a spare, a commuter that I can go back and forth to work on. And one thing I really like about it, I'll ride up and see my cousin a lot of times, and where he's at is just sand. It's a sand pit. My Transalp, I can do it, but I have to stop. I've got to do a little menu thing for 5 minutes and sit there and turn off the stupid traction control, because that's the only way you can do it, which is the dumbest thing in the world. I don't know why Honda thought that was a good idea, but it is what it is. So this one doesn't have traction control from what I can tell. There doesn't seem to be any traction control on it. And everything I've read, it does have ABS, but you can pull the fuse and it takes the ABS off. So when I go up to see my cousin, I can drive this thing and just drive right through the sand. If I turn traction control off, it'll fly right through the sand, no problem. I have no issue at all. If the traction control is not off, then I really struggle bad. So from what I can tell, that fairing is complete. That's the right side. It looks like I mostly need the left side fairing. And that's, I think, this. There's a piece of it right here, maybe. No, that's the headlight thing. Yeah, that's part of that. But there's that, and that bolts on through here. But I'm completely missing this piece, and I have no idea where to find that. So the only thing I can think of that I can do here, there's a little plug thingy. I wonder if I could use that somehow for something. The only thing I can think of to do is, because you see where this one is, that's where, where my turn signal is. I do have these turn signals. They're not fantastic. They're not very big, but I think they'll make it legal. So these are some that I'd already bought anyway. So what I think I'm going to do is come up with a way to either come off of this, which I don't really want to come off the plastic so much, or this. So I'm trying to remember how this thing goes on there. This thing, I don't know. This thing goes onto here somehow, and I don't think, I'll have to fiddle with it some more. So that's broken. I'm going to have to find that somehow. I think what I can do is come off of this somewhere, come down, and make myself a little mount for my turn signals. So I think that's the way I'm going to approach that, is my turn signals will come out of here, and then I'll just have to figure out a way to make a little plug that matches this, or cut that and make a new plug for it that I can make work. So I've got the plugs. I don't know what this does. I wish I knew what that one did. All those go to there, and all that worked. The instrument cluster worked. All that stuff was good. To be honest, I am kind of wondering, though, because he had the same thing. He told me this had 18,000 miles on it. This cluster could have been from his bike that he says has 30,000 miles on it. And it might be that this one has 30,000. I don't know. At this point, after kind of seeing a little bit of deception there, I'm just not sure what the guy was capable of, you know. So who knows? But I think that's what I'm going to do, is figure out a way to take these wires, drop them down where when I make me a little bracket here, I'm going to have to put all this back together, but I'm waiting on my epoxy to finish curing. It's hardening pretty well. It's still kind of gooey. But I am probably going to keep putting coats on here of epoxy to sort of build all this up as much as I can. This wasn't broken, but I figured I'd build it up a little bit and make it help a little bit. And then this, I just filled in all these ribs like that one, to where hopefully that'll hold that together well. I've got the staples in there, but I wanted to kind of fill it too. Again, I'm just trying to beef this thing up as much as possible. I also noticed like the screws here were missing. It had 2 in it, and I think they were like here and here. And there was this little doodad that was on the handlebars, and I took it off because I have no idea what it's for. It's like a mount for something. It does have this, and it's got a quad lock doohickey right here. So I might actually get me a quad lock holder for this one. But it's got a quad lock, and it had this, and then it had something that you could tell something else mounted to. And when I took the screw out, it happened to be the same pitch as this, but for some reason they were longer, and then I cut them off, but that's the only one that actually screwed in. For some reason these two don't screw in. So I've got some work to do. I've got my work cut out for me. I'm going to try to find another switch gear over here because that one's broken for some reason. I do like the mirrors on this thing. I will say that. I like these. So what I'm probably going to do is order these. Will be one of the first things I order. Right here. Oh, and this is something else that he did. Again, you know, maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was the previous owner. I don't know. But I noticed that this bolt that was down here was loose. And it was loose on the other side. One bolt was good and tight. The top ones were both good and tight. The bottom ones were like, eh. So that one, it tightened right up. No problem. I just tightened it up. Good. Everything's great. This one would never tighten up. And I was like, oh, don't tell me you stripped it. So I screwed it out. And you could tell somebody put like epoxy or something in there. And this is where it's nice to have a set of bolts over there. I just went and got a longer bolt. And you can see I had that much more thread engagement with the longer bolt. So the shorter bolts were pretty good bit shorter, and they don't actually come all the way through. So you can see the threads right there. But it's threaded all the way through. I wish I could somehow, and I might even do it where I take like a nut and grind it where it'll fit in there, and then like JB welded in or something, to where that can screw on in. Or I might even take a nut that's longer, a super long one, that'll go in here and get a really long screw that'll come on in and get that screwed on. And once it's screwed on, use some, you know, maybe epoxy, I don't know, something that will hold that in place to where I can take a really long bolt like this and come all the way in and into another nut that's back here. I've got maybe that much thread engagement, which I think is enough. So I think I'm good. But that was one thing. That's kind of freaking dangerous. So that was annoying. But overall, I've got $2,500 in this bike. So, you know, hey, I'm hoping it works. This also will give me, I'm hoping, like I said, my friends can ride with me that normally couldn't. I've got a couple of friends that one of them loves motorcycles, but has another motorcycle that he hadn't paid me for yet. But he bought a little Honda Shadow that I had. It was one of the first motorcycles after my 250. I rode it around the yard twice and said, I hate this thing. but he likes it. So I was like, here, you ride it and you can pay me for it later. And he has ridden the tires to the point that they're no more. And now he can't afford to put tires on it. So this one will be mine because I would have already put tires on the Shadow and he could have kept riding it with me. But this one's going to be mine and it'll just be my bike. I'll insure it. I'll do all that. And then if I have friends that want to ride, they can ride this one. It ain't going to be the prettiest thing in the world, but she'll roll. So I'm really excited to take this thing out the road because I know my 750 is going to have more power and all that. But when I rode this around his neighborhood a little bit, it just seemed to have good torque everywhere. Even in like fifth gear, I was going like 30 and it just hummed along. So I really, so far, I do like the bike and I'm probably going to keep my eyes open for another one. I was actually looking for two different ones. What I wanted for my second bike was a Kawasaki Versys 300X and or a Honda NX 500 or a Honda CB 500X. They're the same thing. Reason being, the 300X was right at 100 pounds lighter than my Transalp, and it will do 70, 80 mile an hour, but it's buzzy. You're talking like, 12,000 RPM redline, and I'm not sure about the longevity of that kind of a motor. This one was not on my radar at all. But those two work because I had seen a couple of the Versys 300Xs for, 2,500 ish, something like that. But then they all dried up. It was like last year I saw several, pretty decent deals on bikes and then they all sort of dried up and now the same bike for 2,500 is $5,000. Same for the CB 500Xs. Everyone that I've seen is $5,000 easily. You just don't see the $3,500 motorcycles anymore. And if you do, it's beat all to pieces. Granted, this one's beat all to pieces. But then I just happened to see an ad. Actually, it was this ad. And I was like, well, that's a decent looking bike. It's kind of goofy looking. Looks more like a moped than a motorcycle in a way, but what is it? So I started looking them up and it was like every review I saw, man, I've had this thing for 15 years, blah, blah. And just everybody really seemed to like the bike. Multiple reports where they had over 100,000 miles on them and they were still going strong and they were really tickled with it. The motor was really good, all that stuff. So it was like, okay. Then I got to looking at it and it was like, okay, this one, people have ridden cross country all over the place, never had problems. Like people literally rode 40, 50,000 miles and they changed the oil. That's all they ever did. They changed the oil. That's it. So it's like, okay, if it's that reliable, and honestly, that's the name of the game to me. I want something that's reliable. I'm not sure if the Kawasaki would be reliable. I know the Honda would be reliable, but it's multiple times the price of something like this. So I had roughly $2,500 that I could spend. I would have liked to have spent less, and I couldn't have spent more. So that's what I had, and this is what I ended up with. So I'm not sure how honest the guy was, and that's kind of sucks. But everything I'm seeing for what it is, the parts that really count, I'm happy with it. I am not. I was worried about this. Like, could this have gotten hit? Everything looks good. I've taken all this apart. It all looks good, so I'm kind of happy about that. I am going to see if I can find another switch for it. Maybe I need to get another key made. He did say this was a 2013. And this is 2015, which is interesting. The key was a little sticky when I first got it, and I just put some lube down in there, and that seemed to really help. But overall, again, I'm kind of excited to see how it goes. So I'm going to start putting all this back together here in a minute, and we'll see what she does. I am going to get, let's see, I shot a video and I never actually posted it. This thing, last Saturday I was riding, and that tire, as I was going down the road, I've got this little TPMS sensor thing, and I've got TPMS monitors on the thing there, and this thing will flash red if you start losing pressure. But if the sun is glaring off that screen, you can't see it. And it does make an audible noise, but if you're riding down the road with a helmet on, you can't hear it. So as I'm riding down the road, my quick shifter quit working. And just if you have one of these and your quick shifter stops working, do not make a turn, slow down, ease over. Because what ended up being is this tire had gone flat. And I'm talking flat. And as I'm riding down the road, I'm like, something ain't right. Something's a little weird. I'm going to do something about this and pull over or whatever. So that's what I did. I went to hang a right. I was going about 30 into a parking lot. It was a big parking lot, like it, you know. So I hung a right, and the tire came off the rim, and it did everything it could to throw me off the bike, and that was not a happy day. I somehow managed to keep it under control, so that was nice, but I came that close to wrecking my bike. It was the grace of God that I didn't. Pumped up the tire, got everything pumped back up, rode it for a few miles, checked it, pumped it up, checked it. So, you know, I think 5 or 6 times I used my little air pump. And at that point, I could watch it through here, and it would get down to about 20 PSI in about 5 miles. I'd fill it back up, and I'd keep going. And that's what I ended up doing. I just kept doing that until I got home. Turns out it was a, here it is. It was a pinhole in my tube, which I have since patched. This is just a spare now. I've got a new one that goes in the bike, but that's just there. But that sucked. So a couple of things I'm going to do. I got some of this. I am not going to put much in it. I'm going to put 3 ounces in the front, 5 ounces in the rear. And everything I've seen, a lot of people say don't use it. Everything I've seen is there's a lot of older information out there. I'm not filling the tire slap full. I'm putting just enough to where, in this case, this was on the outside of the tire. A little bit of slime would have kept that pinhole plugged, and it would have bought me some time. So, what I think it was, by the way, was there was some debris in the tire. There was not a hole in my tire, but there was debris between the tire and the tube, and it had rubbed a little hole. So that's where that would help. It's not going to help in every instance, but to me, if it keeps me from wrecking, it's worth putting a little bit in there. Hey, I had some. I just bought that, and I had some sitting on the shelf. Anyway, so that's funny. That would have kept me going there. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm replacing this on this bike, and I'm going to have to build me some kind of a bracket, I guess, to go here. But essentially, I'm going to put a bar here, and I've got like a 6-inch tablet thing that'll go there. It's like $200. The tablet thing has, it's like you can do GPS and Android Auto and all that stuff, and it's got TPMS sensors. And so now, instead of it being here in a little tiny screen, it's going to be here, big red flashy light if something's going wrong. So I'll know, hey, you're under 20 PSI, boom, 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 and I'll know. It also has front and rear facing cameras. So I'm going to mount a front facing camera somewhere in here, and then I'm going to mount my rear facing camera somewhere back here. And it does like a loop DVR thing, which I think will be kind of handy. And if it works the way I hope it will, then I'll probably move this over to a different bike. And I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. But the idea is anything I can do to keep myself aware of what's going on with my bike, it's worth $200. Because if I would have wrecked, God knows what it would have done. So I figure $200 is cheap insurance to keep myself from really getting hurt. So anyway, there's that. And I'm going to take that system and put it on this bike. Couple of reasons. I'm going to mount it where I can see it better, and I've got a little bit more room to do it on this one. This is also tubeless tires, and if you have a problem with these, they're not quite as dangerous. They don't come off the rim as easily as tube tires. And I've got some little plug doohickeys. That's one thing I really like, is if you have a flat on these, you can plug the tire and get home. Not saying you do that permanently, but you can plug it and go home. So eventually that will be something that I'll probably do with this bike. And if I like this one, I might even look for another one that's a little bit less wrecked than this one down the road, because these seem to be fairly cheap. They're not super expensive, and you get a lot of bike for not a whole lot of money in the used market. So people seem to ride these for a little while, sell them, upgrade to a bigger one, whatever. To me, everything I'm seeing, I like it. So either way, hope you guys have a great day. I know I rambled for forever, but there it is. Have a good day. Bye.